Dr. V.S. Joy, Principal, Maharajas College. Dr. V.S. Joy, Principal, Maharajas College. Dr. Joemon M. Jose, Dr. P.G. Shankaran, Professor Santosh T. Varghese, Head, Department of Economics, Maharajas College. Friends, CSES and the Department of Economics, Maharajas College have been collaborating for long in academic programs. This has been continuing for the past quarter century. And some of the founding members of CSES were formerly with the Department of Economics, Maharajas College. One of them is here, Dr. S. Muralidharan, and Dr. Martin Patrick, Dr. Vishak Verma. All these people were founding members of CSES. So this year itself, a batch of students of the Department of Economics had successfully completed a month-long internship program at CSES. It was an interesting topic, women friendliness of Kochi city. The aim of the study was to evolve recommendations to make the city a better living and working space for women. Dr. V.S. Joy, Principal, has been very supportive in these initiatives. I welcome him to this program and request him to preside over the function. We have two distinguished scholars with us today, Dr. Joemon M. Jose and Dr. P.G. Shankaran. An outstanding researcher in his area, Dr. Joemon is a professor of information retrieval at the School of Computing Sciences, University of Glasgow, a university listed in top 100 universities in the world. Professor Joemon will today deliver the lecture on a topic of significant relevance in the contemporary society: the power of data in the era of ChatGPT. When we requested him a few months back to deliver this lecture, he readily agreed. On behalf of Maharajas College and the CSES, I welcome Professor Joemon. Dr. P.G. Shankaran, Vice Chancellor, Cochin University of Science and Technology, is a renowned statistician who received the prestigious Young Researcher Award of the International Indian Statistical Association in 2010. When we requested him to join us today and deliver a special address, he gladly agreed. I think for three reasons. One, firstly, Professor Joemon is his friend from the university days. They were classmates at CUSAT. Secondly, he has fond memories about Maharajas, where he was a student in the early 1980s. Thirdly, he is closely associated with CSES from its beginning in the 1990s. On behalf of Maharajas College and the CSES, I welcome him to this program. Finally, I welcome all of you who have come here to attend the program offline and online. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we have the most venerable principal of the college, Dr. V.S. Joy, sir. He leads the college even in the times of turbulence, right from the forefront in an exemplary manner and is a person of highest level of integrity. With all respect and pleasure, I invite you, sir, to deliver the presidential address.
Sorry, നമ്മുടെ മാതൃഭാഷയിൽ സംസാരിക്കുന്നത്. കാരണം ഈ ലെക്ചർ കേൾക്കേണ്ടത് കുട്ടികളാണ്. പക്ഷേ എൻ്റെ മുമ്പിലിരിക്കുന്ന ഓഡിയൻസിൽ പകുതിയിൽ കൂടുതലും ഇവിടുത്തെ അധ്യാപകരും ഇവിടുത്തെ പൂർവ്വ വിദ്യാർത്ഥികളും ഇവിടെ മുമ്പ് വർക്ക് ചെയ്ത അധ്യാപകരെ കാണുന്നുള്ളൂ. കുട്ടികളുടെ എണ്ണം വളരെ കുറവായിട്ടാണ് കാണുന്നത്. അതിവിടെ അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്ത കുട്ടികൾ ബാക്കിയുള്ളവരിലേക്ക് ഇന്ന് നടക്കുന്ന ലെക്ചർ സീരീസിൻ്റെ കാര്യം, അതിൻ്റെ ഗുണത്തെക്കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ വ്യക്തമായി പറഞ്ഞു കൊടുക്കേണ്ടതുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ വിഷയത്തിലേക്ക് കടക്കട്ടെ. ശരിക്കും ഞാൻ ആദ്യമേ ഇവിടുത്തെ എക്കണോമിക്സ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റിനെ IQAC അഭിനന്ദിക്കുകയാണ്. ഏറ്റവും പ്രാധാന്യത്തോടെ ലോകം കണ്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു വിഷയത്തെ ആസ്പദമാക്കി ഒരു ലെക്ചർ സീരീസ് ഇവിടെ സംഘടിപ്പിക്കാൻ അവർ തയ്യാറായി. അപ്പോൾ പവർ ഓഫ് ഡാറ്റ ഇൻ ദ എറ ഓഫ് ChatGPT എന്ന വിഷയത്തിലാണ് സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇതിൽ നിങ്ങളോട് സംവാദിക്കാൻ എത്തിച്ചേർന്നിരിക്കുന്ന പ്രൊഫസർ ജോമോൻ എൻ ജോസ്, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ വിഷയവുമായിട്ട് മുന്നേ സംസാരിക്കാൻ ഇവിടെ എത്തിച്ചേർന്നിട്ടുള്ള പ്രൊഫസർ PG ശങ്കരൻ, കുസാറ്റിലെ വൈസ് ചാൻസലർ, അതുപോലെ വെൽക്കം സ്പീച്ച് നടത്തിയ ഡോക്ടർ നാൻസ് കുമാർ, ഡയറക്ടർ CSES, മറ്റ് സഹപ്രവർത്തകരെ, പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട വിദ്യാർത്ഥി. നമ്മുടെ ഈ വിഷയം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പവർ ഓഫ് ഡാറ്റ ആൻഡ് എറ ഓഫ് ChatGPT എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് വളരെ ശ്രദ്ധാപൂർവം കൈകാര്യം ചെയ്യേണ്ടുന്ന ഒരു മേഖല തന്നെയാണ്. കാരണം നിർമ്മിത ബുദ്ധി, നിയന്ത്രിത ബുദ്ധി എന്ന് പറയുന്നതിൽ അതുകൊണ്ട് ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു പർട്ടിക്കുലർ പ്രോഗ്രാമാണ് നമുക്കാവശ്യമായിട്ടുള്ള ഡാറ്റാസ് തരുന്നത്. ഇതിന് ഒരു നല്ല വശവുമുണ്ട്, ഒരു മോശം വശവുമുണ്ട്. നല്ലതെന്താണെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇതിന് ആധികാരികമായിട്ടൊക്കെ എനിക്ക് പിന്നാലെ സംസാരിക്കുന്നവർ പറയും, ഇപ്പോൾ ജോമോൻ സാർ തന്നെ അതിനെ കൃത്യമായിട്ട് പറയും. നല്ലതൊന്നെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മൾ ഈ പറയുന്ന സംവിധാനം വരുന്നതുവരെ ഇപ്പോൾ ChatGPT, u.com ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള കുറേ എണ്ണമുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പോൾ ഇതൊക്കെ വരുന്നതുവരെ ഗൂഗിളിൽ ഒരു കാര്യം സെർച്ച് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ഏതാണ്ട് 10,000 റിസൾട്ടിങ് വരും. അതിൽ നിന്ന് നമുക്ക് ആവശ്യമായിട്ടുള്ളത് എടുക്കുക. അവിടെ നമുക്ക് പ്രായോഗികമായ ബുദ്ധി ഉപയോഗിക്കേണ്ടിയിരുന്നു അത് എടുക്കുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടി. നമ്മളുടെ ആ ബുദ്ധി ഉപയോഗത്തെ കൂടി കുറച്ചുകൊണ്ടാണ് ChatGPT പോലുള്ള സംവിധാനം കടന്നു വന്നത്. ഇവിടെ നിങ്ങളൊരു വിഷയം അടിച്ചു കൊടുത്താൽ അതിന് ആപ്റ്റായിട്ടുള്ള ആൻസർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നിങ്ങൾ ഇതിനപ്പുറം ഇനി ചിന്തിക്കണ്ട, ഇത് മതി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് തരുന്നു. അത് ഇതിൻ്റെ ഒരു ദോഷവശം തന്നെയാണ്. കാരണം നമുക്കൊരു ഇതുണ്ടല്ലോ, പിന്നെ എവല്യൂഷൻ തിയറിയിൽ പറയുന്നത് നമുക്ക് ഉപയോഗത്തിൽ വേണ്ടാത്ത സാധനങ്ങളൊക്കെ കാലക്രമേണ നമ്മളിൽ നിന്ന് ഇല്ലാതായിപ്പോകും. അങ്ങനെയാണല്ലോ രൂപപരിണാമം ഉണ്ടായത്. ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ കുട്ടികളുടെ ഇടയിൽ ഇപ്പോൾ ഈ പ്രായോഗിക ബുദ്ധി എന്താണെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, നിങ്ങളൊരു സിനിമ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാകും, 3 Idiots എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. ഹിന്ദിയിൽ അമീർ ഖാനും തമിഴിലെ വിജയും അഭിനയിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത്. അതിൽ അമീർ ഖാൻ്റെ അവരെ ആദ്യത്തെ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ഇദ്ദേഹം ഇങ്ങനെ ചിരിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ചോദ്യകർത്താവ് ഒരു ചോദ്യം ചോദിക്കുന്നു, എന്താണ് മെഷീൻസ് എന്ന് ചോദിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഇദ്ദേഹം ഒരു ഉത്തരം പറയും. അത് ശരിക്കും പ്രായോഗിക പരിശീലനത്തിനും പ്രായോഗികമായ രീതിയിലാണ് പറയുന്നത്. പക്ഷേ അദ്ദേഹം അതല്ല എക്സ്പെക്റ്റ് ചെയ്തത്. അത് എക്സ്പെക്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത ഉത്തരം വേറൊരാൾ പറയും. ആ പറഞ്ഞ കഥാപാത്രം അമീർ ഖാനാണ് ആദ്യത്തെ ഇതിൽ പറഞ്ഞത്. മെഷീൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഇതൊക്കെയാണ്, ഫാൻ മെഷീനാണ്, ഇങ്ങനെ ഓരോന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. മറ്റേയാൾ പറഞ്ഞത് മെഷീൻ്റെ എക്സ്പ്ലനേഷനാണ് പറഞ്ഞത്. ആ എക്സ്പ്ലനേഷൻ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ChatGPT തരുമായിരുന്നു. ഗൂഗിൾ തരുമായിരുന്നത് അതിലേക്ക് എത്തിച്ചേരാനുള്ള വഴികളുമായിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ. അപ്പോൾ ആ വഴികൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ട എങ്കിൽ, ഈ ഉത്തരം മാത്രം മതിയെങ്കിൽ, ആ ഉത്തരം മാത്രം തരുന്ന ഈ സംവിധാനം നിങ്ങൾക്കുണ്ടാക്കുന്ന ദോഷം എന്താണെന്ന് നിങ്ങൾ ചിന്തിച്ചാൽ മതി. പക്ഷേ ഈ സംവിധാനങ്ങളൊക്കെ വരുമ്പോഴും പരന്ന വായനയിൽ കൂടിയും ഇതിന്ന് കൂടുതൽ എക്സ്പ്ലോർ ചെയ്യാനുള്ളൊരു ശ്രമം അടുത്ത തലമുറയുടെ ഭാഗത്തുണ്ടായില്ലെങ്കിലാണ് ഞാൻ ആദ്യം പറഞ്ഞ എവല്യൂഷൻ തിയറിയിൽ ഉപയോഗിക്കാത്ത സാധനങ്ങളൊക്കെ പയ്യെ അപ്രത്യക്ഷമാകും. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് പ്രായോഗിക ബുദ്ധികളൊക്കെ ഇല്ലാതാകുമ്പോൾ ഇത് ഉണ്ടാക്കിയത് നമ്മളാണ്. ഈ ആർട്ടിഫിഷ്യൽ ഇൻ്റലിജൻസ് കൊണ്ട് ഉണ്ടാക്കിയത് നമ്മളാണ്. അവ നമ്മളെ നിയന്ത്രിക്കുന്ന അവസ്ഥയിലേക്ക് പോകാതിരിക്കട്ടെ. പിന്നെ തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും ഇത് നമുക്ക് ഉത്തരം തരുന്നത് കാര്യത്തിൽ വളരെ ഇഫക്റ്റീവായിട്ടുള്ളൊരു പ്രോബ്ലം തന്നെയാണ്. അതിനെ ആ അർത്ഥത്തിൽ മാത്രം എടുത്തുകൊണ്ട് ഇത് ഉപയോഗിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ, ChatGPT പോലുള്ള സംവിധാനങ്ങൾ ഉപയോഗിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് കിട്ടുന്ന ഡാറ്റ വളരെ ആപ്റ്റായിരിക്കും എന്നുള്ള കാര്യത്തിൽ യാതൊരു സംശയവും വേണ്ട. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു അർത്ഥത്തിൽ ഇതെടുക്കാൻ പുതിയ തലമുറ തയ്യാറാവണമെന്ന് മാത്രം പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി എക്കണോമിക്സ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റിനെയും IQACയെയും CSESനെയും ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു സംവിധാനം, ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ലെക്ചർ സീരീസ് ഇവിടെ നടത്താൻ തയ്യാറായതിൽ അവരെ അഭിനന്ദിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് എല്ലാവിധ ആശംസകളും ഈ പരിപാടിക്ക് നേർന്നുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ നിർത്തുന്നു. നന്ദി.
Thank you, sir. We have the most eminent personality of the day, none other than the Vice Chancellor of Cochin University, Professor P.G. Shankaran sir. He is a real visionary in the field of higher education and is an outstanding scholar of international repute. I cordially invite you, sir, to take the special address.
Dr. Joy, Principal, Maharajas College, Professor Joemon Jos, Dr. Ajit Kumar, Dr. Sandosh, other distinguished personalities, faculty members of Maharajas College, students, and my dear friends. At the outset, I congratulate Department of Economics, Maharajas College and CSES for arranging a seminar on a topic on ChatGPT, which is very relevant in the current scenario. Dr. Ajit asked me to give a special address. This occasion is special for me, as mentioned by Dr. Ajit, due to three reasons. I am alumni of the Maharajas College. I studied pre-degree and BSc program, BSc mathematics program from here during 1980-85 period. Second reason, as mentioned by Dr. Ajit, I have been associating with CSES for last 25 years. So this program is organized by CSES. It's very happy and proud moment for me also. Third reason and most important reason is that Dr. Joemon Jos is my roommate, classmate and hostel mate, and we have been doing various activities since 1985 when I joined MSc Statistics program at Cochin University of Science and Technology. He visited my house with the family, and I visited his home at Iriti, where the Talasheri, near Talasheri, and I also visited his place at Glasgow. We have been interacting since 1985. So this is a happy moment for me. And the topic of the talk is very important in the sense that this is unleashing the power of data. Basically, the data analysis of data is a part of the statistics. So if I say this data science, which is developed, which is a multidisciplinary field, is a combination of mathematics, statistics, and computer science. It was developed, well developed during last 20 years after the 2000. After 2000, I consider this is a fourth phase of development of statistics. So the first phase of development, or the first origin of the statistics or the analysis of information, maybe data or whatever you say, the information was done using empirical approach. Simple techniques like average or percentage or proportion, those techniques were used in the beginning. This was even used before the ADs, that is even BCs also. This technique was used by analyzing the information on various characteristics of the population. The second phase of development was started during 1600 to 2000. That is where the mathematics played a bigger role. Most of the rigorous techniques in statistics were introduced during this period, that is after 1600. Most of the theories like inference procedures, design of experiments, analysis of various type of data using multivariate techniques, all were developed during this field. This is the second phase of development. The foundation for this was actually built mainly by astrophysics they were actually looking on various measurements related to various planets, and they want to know how these measurements are accurate, or the theory of errors occurred this situation. So how to analyze, or how to overcome, or how to get a model for the error. That was the question they raised. This was resulted to various type of probability distributions like uniform distribution, Laplace distribution, Gaussian distribution, etc. Then the third phase of development was occurred during after 1920 or 1950, where the power of the computer is available, and lot of computing techniques were introduced. For example, there's MCMC method, Gibbs sampling method, or EM algorithm method. Lot of computing facilities are available here. So this third phase of development was happened during this period. Now, after the introduction of this internet, or invention of internet, this is the fourth phase of development, where you have massive data set and you can get information at every fraction of second. Then how to analyze this information and how to use modern tools in computer science, that is machine learning tools or deep learning tools, to analyze or to get the information from the data and to infer the situation correctly. So this the first this data science, it was coined as an alternate name for computer science by Peter Neuer in 1964. But later in 1985, famous statistician, he was basically an engineer, famous statistician Professor Jeff Fu, Georgia Tech University, he coined the statistics, the data science as an alternate name for statistics. He gave a wonderful talk at the University of Montpellier when he received a professorship. The title of the talk was Statistics Equal to Data Science. That was the title of the talk. And he argued that the statistician should be replaced as a data scientist, and all the theories, earlier the theories were, statistics theories were supported by mathematics. Now all the theories can be supported by computer science. So this is a development of statistics, but we are using the modern tools of statistics, including a lot of new tools like machine learning tools and ChatGPT, etc. So Professor Joemon is an apt person for delivering such a talk, because basically he is a statistician. He passed an MSc program, then he moved to computer science, and I hope that, I am very sure that his talk will be enjoyed to you all. This is a very important one for all of us. I wish a very best to this program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now move on to the keynote address. We are very fortunate to have such a renowned scholar with highest level of domain expertise and scholastic achievements. Professor Joemon M. Jose is a professor of international rapport. Professor Joemon sir is a professor of computing science at the School of Computing Science, University of Glasgow. He actively explores various subjects within information retrieval, recommendation systems, and user interaction with information. His current research endeavors involve advancing state-of-the-art end-to-end deep learning models for recommendation techniques. He has published over 300 research papers with a total citations near to 10,000 and with an H index of 48. On behalf of the organizing committee, I humbly invite you, sir, to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Respected guys and my friends, very happy good morning to you all. It has been a great pleasure to be here to talk to you about something happening around our society. Okay, so I was talking to my friends Ajit and Shankaran, VC, Honorable Vice Chancellor of CSES, about what was happening our education days. And last 30 years, or since our formal education ended, and we started the career, lot of things changed in the society, mainly due to technology. So I'm hoping to reflect on those changes, how that affect our daily life, and in the context of ChatGPT or GPT technologies, I want to converse with you, the kind of things that may happen in the society in future. Okay, that's my aim here, and I'm looking forward to talk to you about this topic, and I'll talk to you later about that. Okay, thank you very much. അവർക്ക് കാണാവുന്നു ഈ സാധനം നോക്കിയിരിക്കുന്നു മാറ്റം. അവർക്ക് കാണാവോ? Good morning to you all once again. So, as introduced, my name is Joemon, and I'm very happy to be here. Now, let's reflect on what was happening last 3 decades, right? We have a lot of technological innovations, adaptations in the society. A lot of things changed society since then, right? If I just vaguely count the average age of the audience, right, maybe it will be around 20, 21 or 22, right? So if you think about this, you are born into an era of technology adaptation into the society, right? But before that, like a couple of years or 5-10 years before, if you consider, there was a time when we were all navigating this world without the help of internet or other things. Introduction of these technologies has introduced a lot of advantages. Of course, there are a lot of side effects as well. But the argument now, in the case of ChatGPT, is a huge impact it is going to create on society. So we should be looking at that changes, and and the potential of disruption in our societies, both positively and also a bit negatively as well, going to happen. Okay. This is the context I am talking about. I'm not sure you can see from there. So what I'm showing here is something called FinGPT, right? So you have heard of GPT technologies or you have heard of GPT technology. So it's generally called generative pre-trained transformers. That's the technical name. And ChatGPT is one use of that for some kind of common good. Now, what you have here on the right side is called FinGPT or Financial GPT. Exploitation of these AI technologies for financial domain, right? Now, in our days, when we were studying, most of my friends took third group or economics, mainly because to avoid mathematics. But I think when we reflect now, I think that has changed a lot. And Shankar was telling me that the curriculum has changed to reflect the technical aspects of economics and all. So today when you look at economics or any other subject, what we could see that it adapts a lot of technology to it, right? Basically, if you want to predict, study, or analyze, understand any changes, economical or financial, you need to use technology, right? In this case, the lower part is the data collection. What kind of data? News, social media related data about finance, other kind of technical filings in the government bodies or other kind of monitoring bodies like stock exchanges or other kind of Ministry of Finance. Then there are trends like Google Trends or marketing trends we kind of extract from the world. All these data collected real time as and when it is produced and stored. Okay? So this may be more technical for a computing science people to do. But once the data is there, it is the economists or the financial fintech people who are the one trying to predict or assimilate this data, understand various trends, and going to say what is going to happen to credit scoring or what is going to go to financial domain, etc. Right? So today, this is one of the latest works somebody produced. Can you hear me at the back? Okay, ഇത് ഓഫ് ചെയ്തേരെ അത് വേണം Oh, right, okay. This is wired, yeah, all right. I hope you can hear me from the back, right? Yeah, okay, thank you. So this is the kind of financial prediction or economic analysis going to happen or happening now, or if not, it is going to happen in the immediate future, right? So that's the context in which I am talking about. I'm going to talk about some of the technological trends happening here and how that is going to be used for analysis. Even though it is a context, I'm not going much deeper into the economic side of things, but only I am alluding to the fact that technology is being used to do the mundane things we did before through similar analysis, right? So it has changed, and for real analysis in this domain, it has to change completely, or it's going to make the changes for us. Okay? Okay. All right. So this side, no? Right. Okay. Thank you. On. Okay. Okay, let's now look at the technological changes in foliage accounts. ചിലപ്പോൾ ചവിട്ടുന്നത്. Okay. So let's now look at the technological changes that's happening around us, right? Now the major changes in the last 3 decades with respect to technology happened is internet came into being in 1989-1990. And then it is around the time Ajit or Shankaran or us finishing our education. Search engines came 1993, so which we all use now for granted, right? The evolution of that is an interesting thing to study its own. Then the smartphones came 2004, and social media, Facebook came, and neural models, and so it's the other way around. I will explain that. Then the AI technology is what we came to know is started in 2010 onwards. Okay, so let's look at the development of these and their impact on the society or changes on the society. So internet basically created by a British scientist called Tim Berners-Lee. He is now called Sir Tim Berners-Lee. He was awarded by the Queen, and he was a scientist at the CERN. He was a computer scientist. In CERN is the Nuclear Research Institute of European Union, and it's a very well-funded, very complex, very big organization, and they had a big problem with the documents, right? You know that when we work with a lot of documents, piles of documents comes on our table. Similarly, a lot of digital documents being produced at that time. So he thought we need a better way of organizing this for accessing it across the divisions. Instead of digitally stored somewhere else, then we cannot access it. Then he came up with that protocol for the base, that is the beginning of the internet. That was in 1989, publicly available in 1990. That was the time I started my PhD, around that time. And so we were talking at that time in India, we heard something called internet came into being, and there are some certain sections in the American government, other European governments are taking up this technology. That was our first knowledge about this at that time, but this has changed the world tremendously in the way we produce, we distribute, we access information, right? In most cases, most of our day-to-day tasks we can do with the use of internet. And if internet is down, that means it's going to affect lot of domains. Lots of workers, called knowledge workers, work because of this facility available. So as a result of internet created, lots of web pages being created, personal web pages or organizations or newspaper titles. So as a further effect of lots of documents being produced on the internet, which we can access if we know the unique URL or the unique resource locator address of that. But then we need to access it. Maybe we have a friend somewhere who talked about something. So how do we access it through content? Then that's why search engines came along. And I'm pretty sure you are all aware of Bing and Google, etc. But those times, the first ones some of the earlier ones were the Yahoo, Excite, and Alta Vista. And I doubt any of you might have used it at all. Now, I was doing a PhD in an area called information retrieval. That is a search engine technology we were working. And we were looking at this arrival of this and the use of it, because at that time there wasn't any serious use of it, like searching for what is happening somewhere or what newspaper report or what kind of, how do we access other people which we know, etc., right? But later, then the Google came in 1998. That is about time I finished my PhD. That is about time I started my academic career, I think. Yeah. And this was the early versions, if you can see, of the interface look like. And today, that is all changed into much more neater or sleeker versions of the interface, which is even available on our own phones. So what do the search engines give us? So I did search for Maharajas College. I know you can read it, even I can't read it here. But yesterday I searched for Maharajas College from CUSAT campus, and I got these links. I also got the locations of this or various other kind of entities linked to Maharajas College. So when you are searching, what we are getting is links to information which we need to process and identify the information. I also searched for Maharajas College in a system called perplexity.ai. Perplexity.ai works, I think it's on top of Bing, but it's an AI search engine, and it gives me exactly the information I was looking about the Maharajas College. You see the two differences here? Here, when we search, we get links to information which we then, it's our responsibility to go and get the information. Whereas nowadays, search engines giving the actual information we are looking for. This is going to change the way many people do their day-to-day work now on. Okay, that's an effect of AI. Now, so that's the 1990s, search engines came, 93, 94, 95, those areas. And then the social media came, 2004, Facebook came along, okay? So, until this point, when you're talking about, we call, that's a version 1 of the web 1.0. What's happening there is we create static pages or maybe dynamic pages to create the information from a database. But only certain kind of people called publishers can produce the information, right? So we can create an HTML web page, and our web page is there, all the unique. We can update it, or the newspapers, or maybe the district collector, or certain people or organizations has that accessibility or the power to access, or the ability, or the infrastructure to create that, and the rest of the population consume those content. Now, then that has changed. Web 2.0 came. In that case, we can create content. Until this point, producers were privileged. Privileged in the sense they have the infrastructure and the facility to create content, and majority of the population consume the content. And 2000s, the social media arrival, we call something called the ability to create content, called the user-generated content. Okay, that has changed. Now, the amount of static information, dynamic information being created, or the information dynamically created, has a huge change on the web. That's we call the web 2.0, right? And in 2010, around 28.8% world population was on the internet. Today it is 62% of the world population, roughly 4.9 billion people or users on the internet. Now, so as a result, social media, which we know, like Facebook, which came in 2004, now it has nearly 1.7 billion users. And if you look at this statistics, 72% of US adults population uses social media. 73% of users adults regularly visit YouTube. 69% of users adults are on Facebook. 75% of US adults between 18 and 24 use Instagram. And 73% of US adults use Snapchat. Now, where do we get this information? This information is got from a research center called Pew Research. They basically, it's a marketing research kind of organization. They conduct these surveys, etc., kind of get these statistics published. Okay, and I think that's the only one mostly available, credibly available. So that's why I'm quoting that. Until this point, right, when I'm going to, we communicate through maybe emails, or even earlier time we used to communicate through using inlet. I don't see this much nowadays. I don't know how many people use this, right? So if you want to communicate anything, what do? We send a WhatsApp message or email if it is formal, right? So the way we do the work has changed because of the arrival of this. The way we conduct our daily lives changed tremendously. I remember when my friend Shankaran got a job in Karnataka, a place called Bidar, in an engineering college, he wrote me a letter. I got a letter at that time saying that there is a vacancy, do you want to come? I packed my bag, then I went to the railway station, booked my ticket, then I went to Madras, then I had to go to Hyderabad, and from there I had to go. And he gave me the instruction how to reach there, right? Today, you think about it, if you want to give any information to your friends, It is on the fingertips. We don't even need to go to the railway station to book our tickets. How was this possible? So these technological changes, and which allowed us to have these kind of changes in our way we conduct life, it increased the productivity and our living standards. You all, majority of you, born into this, you didn't realize this, but some of us here, in this, with the grey hairs, we lived this kind of analog life or non-digital version of the life. So we knew that the difficulties of that, or the time taken to conduct the day-to-day activities at that time. Then the next innovation that affected our life is the phones. This was a kind of my first phone. I used Nokia, right? And then this was the much more privileged version of the phone. This is a kind of a BlackBerry. It is not produced anymore. At that time, business people, they were using it, which has a lot of security mechanisms, and they could type much friendlier than this keyboard here. So it was kind of a privileged solution, and 2007 iPhone came. Now what happened? I don't know, because it is because of iPhone or not. These two companies don't exist in that form anymore. Okay? So that much was the change in the society because of the the ability for us to do our day-to-day tasks. Disruption. A lot of disruption were happening on the technology and our day-to-day lives because of that change. Now, and that allowed a lot of social media platform to arise, a lot of information being produced. So let's look at Twitter as a social media, right? And this statistics what I am presenting here is from in a bit couple of years ago, and because one famous person acquiring Twitter, a lot of changes happening, including on the usage. So I don't know how much it reflects on that scenario, right? Now Twitter was ranked 35th most popular site in the world 2021, and it was the 6th ranked mobile app. And if you look here, the Facebook people spend, right? Okay, if you look here, Facebook, people spend on average 33 minutes per day, and TikTok 32 minutes, and Twitter 31 minutes, and Instagram roughly is 29 minutes, etc. That's a kind of a ranking of time we spent on it. Due to that, a lot of data is being created. Twitter used to have 340 million monthly active users, or 1.3 billion registered users, and then monetizable daily active users 186 million. What does that mean by monetizable? Because if you use it regularly, they could do advertisement or other kind of things towards you, and they could make money. That's what this kind of active users was roughly around 186 million. And 2014, one of the statistics is being told is that during FIFA World Cup final, 618,000 tweets were sent in a single minute. That kind of shows how scalable their system was at that point of time. Okay, it used to have 500 million daily tweets per day. 134 to 113 million active users daily, or roughly 42% of the users. Okay. Now, that's a kind of usage statistics. It was an amazing platform, and even better, we could access this data and use it for analyzing and producing secondary analytics on that data, which could have been used in other domains, even in economics. So what was the benefit of Twitter data? Okay, why is it important? So it turned out to be a vital communication platform during the times of disasters, during hurricanes. So in America, right, in the United States, there is a hurricane season normally in summer. And when the hurricanes come, they have to move population from one area to another. And there were, we get stubborn people all over the world. There used to be some stubborn people who wants to stay put in their house. They are not prepared to leave their home. They stay there and they get in trouble because all the phone lines get disrupted, current goes. That's the only way they could connect is through the Twitter, they could communicate. So they use that as a communication medium to get help in real life. And people during, when they get layover in airports, they use Twitter as a means to communicate and get second plane booked through that. So you something called mention or tag the airline company, and they could get rescheduled tickets immediately. That was the easy, that was a much easier way of doing things than queuing in their ticketing help desk in an airport, right? And my students used it, so I know that it is real. And during political upheavals, during the Arab Spring problem in Egypt, so many technical companies, they were able to get information from their employees who went on a holiday in Egypt through Twitter. And in real life, we can detect informative tweets which we could use. I'm going to go through some of those interesting tweets and how they used in real life. So, as a result, scientists, mainly social scientists, business leaders, security experts, government agencies started collecting data, analyzing, which could be used for many day-to-day purposes. Even in marketing, marketing researchers started looking at the role of micro-influencers in affecting certain brands. We are aware of influencers, right? YouTube influencers or other kind of influencers on social media. Micro-influencers are those people influencing in around a city or around a region. So they could be used a certain different way for marketing purposes. So the marketing researchers or my colleagues in the University of Glasgow investigating the role of micro-influencers in exploiting the mass advertisement and what are the benefit and who can be reached, etc. So that's where we are with respect to all this, the four innovations which kind of influence the way we conduct our life. Now, as a result of this, huge amount of information is produced. So when the information is produced in large quantities, there's an information explosion happening. So we need to go and find the information we need from the amount of information produced. So if you look at this, the statistics here, how much data is generated in every minute. Okay, it says 41 million messages shared by WhatsApp users in a minute, and 1.4 million video and voice calls made by people worldwide. Around 400,000 hours of video streamed by Netflix users. It's not even considering other kind of streaming platform like Amazon. Then what is this? These are 347 stories posted by Instagram users, etc. Right? And if you look at the amount of information produced, right, daily, is 4.6 billion pieces of content are produced, and you could see this. Huge amount of information is produced even in our Kerala by different publications, news titles. And if you look at the data, size of the data, it's 149 zettabyte. So when you say 1 zettabyte is equal to 1 trillion gigabytes, to give a rough idea. So the amount of information being produced is increasing from year to year considerably, right? So this leads to a phenomenon called information overload. So when you have information overload, then it creates, you can miss information, or if you are working with information, then it can introduce significant stress. And you can see that there are many pictures I have shown. These are the people who create information, some of the examples of that. So how do we then handle this information overload problem? That's the kind of research me and my research students conduct in terms of search engines technology or recommendation technology, etc. So an after effect of producing huge amount of data, it means we need to have some kind of techniques to make insights from this data. So millions of people communicate their feelings and share information through social media. Okay? Remember, in an earlier version of web, we could only consume information. Someone privileged produced that. Privileged, I meant, someone got the infrastructure and maybe they do the journalists. For example, they write materials, properly proofread it and get vetted the facts and they publish it, we consume it. That has changed. People can produce their information at their will as and when it happens. Taking a tweet, sending an Instagram story or Snapchat post, all these are information produced. We become at the same time consumers of the information and the producers of information. It again changed the world. So we could then ask the question, can we exploit such public communication to study and understand the underlying social phenomenon? Social scientists hence are interested in know what is the generic feeling of people about, let's say, COVID vaccine. Or you could ask as an economist students or financial interest, you could ask what will happen to stock market today? Is that going to increase or decrease? Or one particular stock price going to increase or decrease? A lot of people do day trading in the stocks. If they know the variation in the stock prices, they can exploit it. Okay, so at this point, let's look at this, right? When you write a tweet, this is the way you get the interface. So this is my tweet I sent. Happy New Year and welcome to Web Science 2023 class. I was giving this module, so I was inviting my students to it, right? And when you look at a tweet, you have seen it, you could see the author and then another kind of text and some kind of additional information, right? This is what we see. But on the back, it's 280 characters maximum. It used to be 140, but it was too limited. They found they extended it to 280 characters, and it was published through both mobile and desktop. 80% of users are mobile based. So what does that mean? Mobile based users is they could create the information as and when it is happening and disseminate it. Okay. Each tweet has an author, a message, a unique ID, timestamp of when it was posted and some other additional metadata. All this information is very useful for analyzing the information. Tweets can be retweeted, like for example, or we can add a quote and you can send it again. And it has some other kind of mechanism in addition to text. We can communicate, provide URL, hashtags, mentions, pictures, videos, etc. Okay. Now, for a tweet, from a computing science perspective, when we look, we call that as a JSON payload. This kind of a JSON object, what we get. This is the one we are analyzing. Okay. And in addition to what we see with our eyes on the platform, we could get access to this information, which has many advantages. We could look at the credibility of the user, right? Because all kind of information is produced. We don't know how credible it is. We could look, is this user credible? We could come with an algorithm. We could look at how many, what is the age of the account. In a sense, for example, lots of people create throwaway accounts. What is a throwaway account? You create a Twitter account and tweet and spam the space, and then you throw away account and create another one. So if you look at the spammers, we could say that the age is much less because they create for a certain purposes. Once it is being detected or it's the point of being detected, they throw away and create a new one, right? Or we could look at where they are working. Is that on a blue tagged or verified information? Or how many followers and followers they have, which is also show kind of a credibility information. So we can come up with some kind of algorithms or heuristics which we can verify the credibility. In our analysis, when we did this, we could throw away quite a large amount of noisy tweets. Now let's look at some of the benefits of analyzing these tweets. Okay, this is you remember that a few years ago, it is in 2009, one flight, US Airways flight, went into a Hudson River. Hudson River is close to New Jersey or New York City or New Jersey airport. So this airline started from the New Jersey airport. Because of a bird went and hit it, it had a power failure. They didn't have the time to go back to the airport. The pilot landed there. And who is the first one to see that? A person in a ferry. And he said, okay, a plane in the river, it is crazy, and we are going to help them. That's the way the world knows about that. In the journalist world, they call this scoop, right? The first information they publish. Now, later there was a kind of a movie about this. Okay, there are two usefulness from this. Number one is that information is given. We could go and help them. The security agencies or the like a police, fire department, ambulances, all can rush to help people. Okay, normally when we have an incident like this, we call the police or fire department, and then they come to that. Even before that, that is being announced on a Twitter. Now let's look at another one. So this is one user. His username is really virtual, or the proper name is Maharajas. He said 8:58 p.m. 1st May 2011, helicopter hovering above Abbottabad at 1 a.m. is a rare event, right? Somebody in Abbottabad, Pakistan military cantonment area, looking through their flat, they saw a helicopter hovering, and he noticed something something unusual happening. That is 8:58 a.m. And then within an hour, let's say 15 minutes later, he saw a huge window shaking bang here in Abbottabad. I hope it is not that start of something nasty. Okay? 15 minutes. This is the second information about Bin Laden raid conducted by United States of America in Pakistan soil. And someone had a communication with him reacting to that, and he said very likely, and then say it is not very nice to be a spycraft, or if it is, then it is a poor spycraft. Then just 5 hours later, somebody said 3:24 a.m. Oh, this may be something to do with the press conference the President Obama is going to talk about. It looks like they have killed Osama bin Laden. And then 3:45 a.m. 2nd May, somebody confirmed, yeah, it's a Bin Laden raid. And there is a movie about it, right? Now, all about this sensational aspect of it, if we leave aside, what are the benefits of having this information given as and when it happened? It's that information is announced 6 hours later, okay, officially. Until then, it is communicated to people. Now, this has created a space called something called people journalism, or anybody can be a journalist kind of phenomenon. Now, is it important? Delay between a new event appearing on Twitter and the time taken for the same event to be updated on Wikipedia is about 2 hours. Okay? So the fresh information we can get 2 hours before it is being updated. So Twitter's real-time tool, nature, has allowed it to be used as a coordination tool for protesters and demonstrators. For example, in Arab Spring, and London once had a big riots in 2011. Both police and the protesters used it, because when police go into an area, protesters usually say that police is coming, they reassemble in another area. Okay, and police had a tough time in chasing it up at that time. Now,
Are they interesting? Can we use this for some real life purposes? Now, you know that until that point, or before the evolution of social media, all the news we get through the registered journalistic sources or the credible journalistic sources. But the other side of it, they could kill a story. If the publishers don't want to publish, a story could be killed, okay, by suppressing it, not just publishing it. That had gone on the area. Now, if something happening, if people have an opinion, that is being now published as and when it is happening. Now, other benefit, if you look at transportation, right? This is a ring road. It's called the motorway 25, M25 outside London. And if you look on the left side, you could see a huge queue happening. If there is an accident like this happening, what is happening is, then there is a huge queue happen. Even if it is not impacted the traffic, some people will kind of look through. Even if they are driving like 70 miles per hour is driving speed, but even if people look, oh, what happened there? It's kind of curiosity, right? It slows down the traffic. Now, if you are in that traffic, you could get live information in a sense to avoid that area or that route. The transport, so event detection or event tracking is a very interesting research area for transport researchers. This is another effect of in economy, right? Basically, you are students of economics, so now I'm going to show you some effect on the economic domain or finance domain. 6 a.m. we found a tweet, a company called Scoop Analytics, which was started by some of my PhD students. They were they came up with this case study. So they detected a tweet saying that something unofficially, some conversation going between a tech giant Alibaba in China and something called Watcoin or something kind of cryptocurrency company. And an hour later, somebody unofficially confirmed there is a discussion happening, right? And then around 8 hours later or something, or 3 hours, I don't remember correctly, it is officially announced. Now, if you look at the stock prices, right, it's at $19, it varies to $28 during that 8 hours period. Now, if you are doing a stock trading, right, then you could see that how much money potentially somebody could have generated from this news. Another one, right, another of this story, Walter Bloomberg announced AA removes their executive chairman because of the misconduct, right? That has happened in 1321. And second, the newspapers started announcing it, which was around 10 minutes later. And you see the immediate effect on the stock prices. And then the BBC Business announced that it's around an hour later, stock prices gone down, right? Normally day traders, what they look for these trends, they try to sell it when it is high and buy it back when it is low. The amount of money people could make because of that fluctuation is huge. Well, of course, they play with a huge amount of money too. So analyzing such data, maybe from a multitude of sources, and inferring events is a scientific research topic. That's the kind of work we do in our group. So for example, let's look at what is happening in Kochi or Ernakulam now. So maybe a disruption due to cloudburst. Fortunately, we have a good day now. But if there is a disruption due to cloudburst, what will happen to the traffic? Or a few months back, we have the Brahmapuram fire incident. It is interesting to a wide set of people around this region. Whereas, if there is a traffic jam in one of the link roads coming to this college, you could benefit from knowing that it is happening there. You could deroute through some other areas, right? So this is the kind of things people are interested in, analyzing social media data. And with respect to the stock movements, I analyzed, so this is whatever be this company, BBV Inc. All the tweets tagged this company. We analyzed this and then looked at the sentiments in it. If you look this around this much neutral, very positive, very negative, positive and negative tweets, all right? And just looking at the sentiments and exploiting this into a prediction tool. We use something called a deep learning techniques. The details of that is not important. So when it's a kind of a very simple experiment. We looked to analyze the time series data, the stock price movements alone using an LSTM. Now we got kind of, let's say, one measure called F1 score or a precision, right? 0.48 and 0.32 F1 score. And if we have incorporated the sentiments from these tweets happening, and that price has gone into the F1 score from 0.32 to 0.77. Okay, so this is not and the precision is 0.72. Huge gem. Again, this is kind of a only for one item we have shown out of the FT500 data set, and we could see the impact of that just by looking into one of them, right? Now, how to monetize these activities is a different thing, because we have to evaluate it on a large number of companies and look at the variance, what is happening. And the FinGPT slide I have shown in the beginning basically incorporate these kind of ideas into it. Now, the real scenario is, even though I have highlighted the usefulness of this, in reality, when you look at the social media posts or tweets, most of the tweets like ate Mac consecutively for 4 days, I need a change of diet. So when you say Mac, it's McDonald's food, which is considered junk in that area, junk food. So it's a fast food, but it's a junk food. So these kind of, if you look at that information, right, which has no value, it maybe friends may be interested in knowing, but no real value in it. So actually 95% of tweets, social media posts are of this category, which we could ignore. Our aim is then to analyze these remaining ones, identify them, analyze them, and make a real-time predictions about things happening. So that is a challenge. That's a huge challenge. The research area, event detection from social media streams, basically look into it. So when you say event detection, detecting something significant, a significant thing happening at a specific time and a place, okay? Something at least a journalist would have reported if they have seen it. That's a kind of a definition of event, right? So if you can detect, so for example, if you look here, this kind of information 1 year ago is about Russian army moving into Ukraine. It has come from Reuters and some other journalists. So these kind of real-time events is the one we are looking at it. We should be looking at it, and we want to ignore any kind of personal or bragging or kind of tweets people said. Oh, the technologies we used until that point is something called named entity recognition, or the core technology, named entity recognition. What is named entity recognition? So we need to analyze a test, identify anybody, any person or entities, actually named entities present in that text. So there are a lot of variations. If you look at the Bill Gates, his former name is William Henry Gates, or some people call him Gates. So if any variation of that happens, we need to identify it back to Bill Gates, which is he is commonly known as. Okay, so it is basically identifying person, organization, time, and location. So this technology, is the common thing used at that point. But let's say the performance vary from the quality of text itself. But let's say around 60 to 80% performance, 80% accuracy we can get on kind of some data sets. Now, That's again, I'm putting back the previous slide. I don't fit GPT. They are what we are using, something called artificial intelligence technologies, which goes much more than this technology. So I will talk next 10 minutes or something about the artificial intelligence. Ajit, how am I doing time wise? Yeah? Okay. So, in the last 10 years, you must have come across this kind of news in the papers. Computers can now, if you ask a question, if London is the capital of UK, then dash is the capital of France, computers are able to answer that. So they could say Paris if you ask a question. Or if you say king minus or remove man from king and plus woman, computer can tell you back it is queen. Okay? Or quite recently we heard ChatGPT can take a bar exam, and bar exams is lawyers in America, after graduating from the university, they have instead of registering with a good law firm, they need to take this bar exam. Very challenging. It's more like our chartered accountant exams. Okay, it's and you can see American movies there, people are being forced to pass through that as fast because they don't want to recruit somebody who cannot pass it in the first round or something like that. It affects their clientele. They only appoint good people, right? Or so ChatGPT can pass it, that tough exam. Or software companies conduct engineering tests for their recruits. So ChatGPT can do that. So these are the kind of things we know. And when you look at the search for ChatGPT, you could see headline like this: Oracle database adds AI into its product suite. Or then Booking.com launched Trip Planner partially powered by ChatGPT technologies. So that means in our day-to-day life, or at least some part of the world, day-to-day life, ChatGPT or AI technologies is being used on a daily basis. So recently, Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google, announced their company made a huge inroads in analyzing diabetic retinopathy. So diabetic retinopathy, right? Most most students may not be familiar with that, but when you get 50 plus and have diabetic, then what will happen is you can have some kind of vision problems due to this side effect of diabetic. So the way they address is, when you have a diabetic, then they will analyze your eyes, back of your eye, through take a photo of it and look through them, and then identify if there is any blood clot or something like that. Because that can lead to blindness. Okay, so Google used this AI technique, which is another word called deep learning. Okay, they conducted field trials. What they said is they can offer more insights than compared to an expert. So these experts, they look at these kind of images, and then they can analyze it, and they could, by looking at it, identify most cases, and the computers can do a much better analysis. Okay, that's again an AI. Even more, they could look through this and say what chance that person will have a heart attack in the next, let's say, days or months. That technology is going to change the world for a lot of people. Okay, another one, it's in many European and Western countries, other America, etc. When you go to a hospital, they are funded through the government or through the insurance. So when they discharge, when they go home, sometimes they go back again. It will have huge cost implications, right? So when you are in a hospital, they are interested in predicting what is the event going to happen. Are there a heart attack or something, medical events is going to happen, right? So a student of mine started a company called Snap 40, which was now acquired by some other company. They had a device on their hand. They analyzed the blood pressure and other kind of readings, and they build a system that can predict this kind of events, right? Now, that's again changing, because AI system, machine learning or deep learning systems could do a much better job in predicting heart attacks or other kind of medical events even happening in a hospital. When you are tied up to the hospital, when you are on the hospital bed, tied up to many other machines, looking at the reading, they could automatically predict this. This is going to happen. It's going to improve or decrease the situation. So in computer science terms, what we do is, right, how do we do this? We look at large number of images and videos from a large number of patients. We also know their trajectory because they were in the hospital, it is all fully recorded. Their medical conditions. We call that ground truth. Then what we create something called a train a model. What is a training a model? Either is easiest you could think about having a line, a equation of a line, right? Like y equal to mx plus b. So if you add m and b, you get an equation of a line, right? So something like that. A model is an equation, right? It's not linear, but it will be non-linear. So a computer software look at this data and fit these parameters of the model. And when a new image of the eye comes, they could analyze, then they could say, oh, something is going to happen or not. That's what called the model training or model fitting. This is a kind of a crust of machine learning. And deep learning, but in machine learning, they separate the linear spaces, like something positive from negative, etc. But many of the real life decisions are much more complex. Okay, so it doesn't fit non-linearity. So deep learning systems manages this non-linearity efficiently. This is much more powerful than that. That's why the AI systems we talk about. So how do they acquire it? What happened, right? So all started in 2030, a technique called distributed representation is developed, which is known as an NLP community. It is known as one hot vector. Represent each word in a vocabulary. So ignore this. So what you happen is you have a vector. Vector has a lot of position in it, right? Everything 0 except 1. Right, this is a one hot vector, and mango, everything 0 except 1, that particular position. So this is a one hot vector. So this technology is being used in NLP computing. But the problem with this technology, if you want to find similarity between banana and mango, there is no similarity because all are 0 and the real content is in the wrong places. But is there any similarity between mango and banana? Is it? So it is a fruit, right? We could say, but our computation technology couldn't detect that, right? Because the way we were representing. That has changed something called distributed representation, right? So in the case, banana is being banana and maybe related to other fruits, right? And that can be, we can represent in using a vector. This is known as distributed representation. In other words, if you say about Maharajas College, it is in Ernakulam. So Ernakulam has maybe some similarity to the word Maharajas College, and you may add maybe St. Albert's College or Theresa's College because there are other academic institutions. If you analyze all the text that is happening with the word about Maharajas College, maybe in some text we get the Ernakulam and St. Albert's College, etc. So we give some weight to these terms in representing Maharajas College. That turned out to be a much powerful representation. This is created using a neural network technology. In reality, behind, how many of you must have heard of matrix multiplication, right? We study in a pre-degree. I don't know, in the economics students learn it. But when you represent something, this is a 1 by 3 matrix. This is a 3 by 4 matrix. We could multiply 1 by 3 and 3 by 4, we get a 1 by 4 matrix, right? So deep learning systems is something like the many different matrix multiplications. So we randomize these values between some random values, then train the system with the real data and adapt these values to something more. So we get really very complex model which become very good in discriminating things. So that is the fundament behind. And this is also possible mainly on something called the GPUs, graphic processing units. Now if you played computer games, they have these GPUs. That technology, I have this graph until 2007, I couldn't find anything recent. You could see that between CPU and GPUs, the computational power, the power differences, right? So because of this, we could create this distributed representation using neural networks, etc. And we were able to answer much more semantically, analyze the text much more semantically. Now think about it, right? Zettabytes of data created across the world. You crawl this data and train the big computers and have this distributed representation. It can do large number of intelligent tasks. So that led to the development of something called large language models, or something with the ChatGPT capabilities. Now, what are the capabilities of ChatGPT? These large language models can do, or in other words, AI systems. If you look here, if you can ask ChatGPT, can you write a proof that there are infinitely many primes with every line that rhymes, right? You must have learned about primes when you study numbers in the school, right? And then if you ask the computer, ChatGPT, to prove, write a rhyme, so you get this. Okay? And you can go and do this to ChatGPT or Bard or Bing. You can see the variations of something like this. So that means they are not reproducing something seen. They may be creating that in real time. Another one, you give some data and you give some set of conditions. You say create a plot, okay, and give some other conditions, and the ChatGPT respond to you with the program code. If you want to make a graph, something like this is the lines of code in a language called Python you write, right? That's very simple graph. It's a scatter plot. This say create a scatter plot, and this say mark this day and mark this tip y-axis, and the data is produced by this. That's a kind of a Python language code, right? And the previous instruction to ChatGPT, and looking at the code, we can create a graph like this from that. That means ChatGPT, this large language model, learned how to generate Python code. See, if I want to write something like this, it may take a week for me. I use Python, but I haven't used it for this graphical representation. It may take a week. And if you ask a good computer programmer, it may take a half a day or something, right? That's what we are getting now. And I will skip some of the other examples. This is a software engineering test with Amazon. ChatGPT took and got 100% score. And this is art, okay? This is an actual art piece created. They asked ChatGPT to create this. The one that is based on ChatGPT 3.5. This is the 4 version 4 GPT based on that. So what means is it is capable of doing this creative task. Of course, it didn't reproduce exactly as it is. It is again creating something called JavaScript code, even more difficult than the Python code to create. It can do this. How does it acquire this knowledge? Okay? So now, so this is where we are, right? What effect this will have on the society? And a few months ago, people were saying ChatGPT can write research papers. It's a big huge issue happening, and some people even going and naming, co-authoring ChatGPT as a co-author. As a response to it, publication houses like ACM said, it has to be a real person if you want to name an author. Or in other words, ChatGPT is not allowed to be asked. We cannot name ChatGPT as a co-author in a paper. Research papers, basically, academics, the people who do the research, produce the research, and write something like this as a paper and write their names on top of it, right? So that's a kind of a research paper is properly created, and depending on the venue, right, it will be rigorously created. So I wanted to experiment with this. Will it be able to generate a paper for me? So this was my paper I submitted to this a big conference. and I want to ask ChatGPT. Took this abstract from my paper and give to ChatGPT, write me a paper about it. Okay? So ChatGPT give me a generic introduction, basically using text like this. And then it talked about the approach. The first paragraph is the approach, and then it talks about the experimental results, right? And finally it wrote a conclusion too. Now, this is nowhere near the paper I wrote. Okay? So ChatGPT cannot make a research paper, or at least my papers can't be reproduced, right? And also I can tell you the exams my students took, and they used ChatGPT, but they didn't get much marks. So ChatGPT cannot write exam answers to my questions in the exams too, right? In online exams. So yes, we can use ChatGPT as a productivity tool. We can write a paragraph, ask ChatGPT to rewrite, in a sense helping us to proofread it. We can ask ChatGPT to summarize a research paper, in other words, to paraphrase it in a different set of words. Okay? It is a productivity tool. That's going to happen in the immediate future. The effect of ChatGPT, etc., is going to be as a productivity tool. For example, if you write a PowerPoint or a Word document, now ChatGPT or GPT, like a large language models, are being used behind it. That is going to increase our productivity. So coming back to FinGPT, now what's happened to economics, right? So if here if you can read, it says fine-tuning methods, adapting big large language models for economic purposes. That is the kind of areas now lot of you will immediately see an effect in fields like economics, financial analysis. We will be telling language model. So I have this data, I want to analyze it, I want to see the impact of this on the product or something like this. It's called prompt engineering. You don't have to be a computer engineer for that. But that is the immediate effect I think it is going to happen. And second area is to provide additional intelligent abilities to large language models, which is basically telling that, if I am an expert, I will be analyzing this data in this way. I will use this model to predict. So we combine our knowledge and the language model's ability together to create something more intelligent for analyzing data. So that is again going to be an effect into many fields, including economics. Okay. So to summarize what I have been talking, ChatGPT and other large language models are going to disrupt the way we conduct our daily lives. In most cases, it's positive, productivity improving tools, and these models can show artificial general intelligence or human-like intelligence in many tasks, including vision, mathematics, law, arts, etc. Next 10 years, it is going to change the world. Change the world in the sense like the way we conduct our day-to-day activities. I have walked through the kind of changes happened in the last 30 years with respect to information technology, but next 10 years I feel it is going to be even bigger changes. And when I say next 10 years, I really meant next 5 years, because that's the kind of speed in which things are changing. And thank you a lot for listening to me patiently. And now once again, I'm very happy to be here and talk to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Now this is time for discussion and the floor is open to all the participants.
Can we just, as you mentioned, this is not useful for writing new research papers, but review papers can be.
Yes, we could review past work, and we may be able to get that it is reported something there, etc. It can summarize. Or you could ask what is happening in the literature, right? But that is not equivalent to writing papers, because you are aware of something happening, and I consider it as a productivity tool, right? In a sense that. So it is helping you. That is happening. So we train our students to read research papers, analyze it, and methodologically do this research. That task, ChatGPT may steal, right? And will that affect students' abilities? It's time to say, but I think it is going to be increasingly being used as a productivity tool, and I'm fine with that, to be honest, because we cannot change that. It's out there.
You mentioned that I predict it.
Yeah.
I predict. Then AI will also predict it. Then you bring it together, then a character version will come.
Right.
Then how do you explain that?
Okay, that's the biggest thing now happening, right? So the prediction model, so the question is, whenever you make a prediction, you need to verify which is the truth, right? At the moment, so we have a kind of confusion here, because if you use one large language model, use that as a prediction tool, and use another large language model as a ground truth, is it correct or not? But at the moment in the field, it is happening as a kind of experimentation. We are trying to figure out how to evaluate these tools methodologically or more rigorously. It is again happening in parallel. Okay. And I think one of the work we do, my PhD students work in an area called recommendation systems. We are basically looking at how to prompt. There are also lots of people looked into it. How to prompt, how to write a prompt. Writing a prompt is basically telling, not a program writing. It's basically telling, this is our data and we want this. And how do we write that instruction for language model to do that? That's called prompt engineering, right? And anybody can do. You don't need any programming ability for that. But then the next step we are trying to do is, can we evaluate it? Can we create this model, adapt it to something already we created using other mechanisms, right? So which is again one already produced. In that case, we could evaluate it using already existing data or kind of ground truth, which not reproduced by large language model. Then we could see which one compare better and how to adapt it, etc. That is the next stage of work. We are going to look at it, and many other people started looking at it. But it is fair to say it's not completely clear for us how do we go and evaluate this rigorously and adapt it to our daily usage.
Is it possible that you recommend a model? So, and what I'm asking is that I have a set of data.
Yeah.
I wanted to estimate something else. So do we have different way of estimating it?
Right.
So is it possible that from this approach, is it possible that the best prediction model could be recommended?
So we could ask ChatGPT, basically it's not ChatGPT or ChatGPT, we could ask, we want to analyze this model, and then it gives you one kind of estimation. And then we could say, can you try some other estimation and compare with it? Or we could do that, that's iteratively, we could prompt that, okay? But one problem with these models has a problem called hallucination, right? It gives you an answer as confidently, and we don't know when it is correct and when it is wrong, right? And it doesn't know whether it is wrong or not, right?
So I want to know about something basics about this. We have a distinction between machine learning and the role of AI there.
Okay.
Then, especially in financial management, the blockchain technology is widely discussed, but you did not give much emphasis to that.
You're right.
Can you explain that also?
Okay.
After that, I have two more I will give after getting there.
Okay. So the difference between machine learning and AI, okay? So when we call AI, we call something called deep learning, okay? It's deep learning is machine learning, as I explained. You have some ground truth, right? Let's say, so if you want to, let's see, we have one page, A4 size, all the letters or some kind of text created by all the male and female in this auditorium, right? That's let's say around 50 pages, right? And we want to identify female handwriting from male handwriting. What we do is machine learning is we analyze it. We look at extract the shape of different words and how close or different features. This is called feature extraction, right? We scan it, we then analyze it, and then develop a model, right? And that model may be, it may be any model. Basically, we want, if there is a separation, we want this, maybe most girls write it beautifully, and at least compared to me, they write much better. So we may be able to separate that. That's known as machine learning, right? We have a ground truth created. We tell this is the data and fit the parameters of the model, and then you separate that. That's machine learning. So AI or the deep learning, what is behind it, is exactly same as that. Only difference is, like I said, it is a huge number of parameters. So for a line, we may need only 2 parameters, right? So the latest deep learning models is 40 billion parameter. Because of you're multiplying so many matrices again and again, and it creates one point, and then it will generate into another projections. So basically, in a mathematically, now if you go and ask Shankar, and we may say it's a transformation or projection into different spaces. So that is very powerful model, right? So instead of let's say 100 parameters of machine learning models, we are now talking of 40 billion. So it's same, much bigger. And that models we learn are much more complex. We could say that it's a non-linear models, because in all the some things we cannot separate in the same space, right? If you look at if you want to identify individuals' age and their seating location, right? It may be look like a curves like this, right? Because we are all sitting mixed, and so separating that will be very huge difference, right? So that function we are learning in deep learning, and you could see. And if you want to do that in real life, it is very huge. Okay, and 40 billion parameters compared to other kind of models, 100 or 1000 we use, it has a huge effect. So they are same. Deep learning and in that respect they are same, but there are a lot of mathematical differences between them. And what was the second question? Sorry.
About blockchain technology.
Yeah. Okay. Blockchain technology is a way of called distributed ledger, or in a way. So when we have normally when we conduct a business, everything is centralized, right? Whereas the blockchain technology principle is it is distributed, and then you try to give same level of protection as the what you call the centralized systems, right? So our reserve banks, right? Every money printed is centrally controlled, right? Whereas blockchain, anybody can mine it with respect to certain conditions also, right? That's a kind of basic principle of that, right? And is it related to AI? No, it is not. But is AI is being applied there? It is being applied there for various purposes. When the last time I looked, in the earlier I worked in a field called peer-to-peer information retrieval. Basically, you distribute information to peer computers rather than centralized Google or that kind of central computers, right? So, but there are a lot of problems, like when you have distributed, like, so what will happen? My computer goes down. Who has access to that information? So how much times we need to replicate data in each of these, etc. So things like that. So distributed ledger technology, even though it is getting popular, it's being touted as an alternative to use in industry. A lot of companies create these distributed currencies, etc. It's still being developed. Okay, and I think AI will be applied there, but I don't consider it as a part of AI.
So there is a genuine criticism when IT developed in India.
Right.
One major criticism was that the Indian technocrats neglected the hardware part and going more for software. And within the software itself, the programmed part again is being neglected. And only already programmed one, we are just feeding data. considering this criticism, how do you look at, from an Indian perspective, how do you look at the application of AI and machine learning in Indian context?
Yeah, okay. I think when I started PhD or when we were doing MSc here and then looking into doing, after statistics, I wanted to do PhD, right? I will look at the publications. Many of the publications was Indian names, right? It's very common, right? And we look at with reverentially, oh my God, this guy is at Stanford doing that or things like that we talk about, right? And today when we look, it's all Chinese names, okay? I don't know what happened to those Indian academics, because when you look at IITs, etc., their heroes now, Satya Nadella and Sundar Pichai, because they are running the world's biggest organizations or technical companies, right? So lots of Indian brain go into industry rather than academia. That is happening right now. So that's one reflection. Second, you asked the software tasks we do, right? But then we follow money. The tasks or the opportunities or automation or already existing software that is adapting for this. For example, early 2000s or 1999 or 1998, 99, those areas, most people were working in a technology called Y2bug or something called 2000 because everybody thought that year 2000 computers going to malfunction because the way date encoded, and a lot of people were working on that. So the majority of our companies go and work in that area, right? But there are a lot of other companies working in I was told there are 5 or 6 unicorns in Bangalore or in India, when Bangalore alone created last 5-10 years. So there are a lot of innovation happening as well, but majority of people who is working on software engineering, they go into this area. But that's where the opportunities are that people go. And on the hardware, I think I think I'm going to give something negative here. In the you know CDAC, etc., right? CDAC was one of the, that was Sam Pitroda introduced it, CDAC, or that's where we created our digital exchanges, things like that. It's a huge thing. And then later NIC, National Informatics Center, all these things. Now, unfortunately, I have seen a lot of publications from Indian name origins. They are working abroad, but not from our premier institutes like Indian Institute of Science or Indian Institute of Technologies or things like that. So something happening there. The leadership we used to give in those scientific domains is faded a lot here, okay? And it will have huge impact down the line, because these are the kind of technologies we cannot stay away, because the world is going to change, right? Even Dubai has a research center. They analyze a lot of data, created a large language model like a GPT, right? Their version called Falcon. And for many evaluations, there is a leaderboard of language models. They are top. For many evaluations, they are top, right? And we are nowhere there. And I think staying away from these kind of developments and not generating enough expertise in that will be catastrophic to the country. That's my opinion, okay?
Students, for the part of the students, we didn't get any responses. So you can ask questions in Malayalam also.
Yeah.
Language.
Sir, I am working as research assistant in CSES. So regarding the last 6 months, I have been introduced to a number of AI tools. Not only ChatGPT, there are a lot of other AI tools also. But I also use them as you said, I use them as a productive tool regarding writing reports, and also sending email also I used to use them. So, but I don't know to what extent you can use that ethically in a research.
Okay, so the way my PhD students, when they start writing or when they have draft, they give me, I proofread, I correct it, right? That's the way the normal pipeline. And some cases we get an external help of somebody called proofreader. We pay them, right? Now, if that external help is ChatGPT. It's nothing wrong, right? I'm not paying ChatGPT. Maybe I'm paying for the membership. So I'm not cheating there. Intellectually, it is my idea or my student's idea or our collaboratively. So that's the way I look at it, right? Now, so I don't mind people use as a productivity tool. And also, when you look from an India perspective, right, or people from linguistically non-English background, the way we compose sentences, to use the words, etc., in a certain way, that may not ring very well with the external audience. So if they get some kind of leveling mechanism with that, then that is good to me. So I think you can use it ethically as long as you use it as a proofreading tool. But if somebody asks you to analyze, let's say, some technology, and then you get ChatGPT to do that, that is not ethical. But you can then work through that with ChatGPT, make that report, that is ethical, right? Okay, thank you.
My name is Maharajas, I'm a career economics honors student. So, BA, the Google ChatGPT, during its demo, it had laid a factual error and had been needed to and crashed in the price of Google stock price. And while Elon Musk had sold the blue tick to everyone, it had also needed to a crash in stock market. And Midjourney, while it started, the Midjourney had made many fake pictures and it had also cracked the stock market. So another incident was when an artist tried to sell their artwork, the site had said to the artist that don't try to sell the pictures drawn by AI. And the artist had said, no, those pictures are drawn by me. When the site had paradoxically said, don't try to draw the pictures like AI. So it's a competition between AI and the humans. So creativity is also affected. So while we're trying to find out the power of data on the ground of the ChatGPT, how it can affect the stock market. It's not only stock market, it can be leaded to another great depression in the field of economics. And we are facing a general election on 2024. We know our leader is the most famous influencer in Instagram and other grounds. So while facing another general election and our country's different manners, how the ChatGPT can affect India's democracy also?
Okay, let me try to put a picture if I have. Yeah, okay. You must have seen this, right? This is quite recently the WhatsApp. A Malayali created a deep fake video. Deep fake is basically using AI technologies to generate something look like. Let me try to play it for a second, right? No, I can't play it. It's blocked external video. Now, what you could see is if you have seen the movie, it's called Godfather, right? A while ago I watched it. It's so realistic. And when I was looking at, oh my God, he looks like Mohanlal, and the other guy, he was Robert De Niro. So real, right? And then I look at it, Fahad Fasil, right? It's again this more or less. So it's so real, right? Now this is fun. This is fun, right? Now you think this is real during election. Now we all have our own agenda, our own basis, which is confirmation biases. And if we get something like this, right, will it affect the election? I think so. It will affect the election, right? So this is going to happen. Lots of worse things happen. Now I talked about the power of social media to produce, consume and disseminate, etc. Right? We are becoming producers and consumers. And there is a side effect I didn't mention. Misinformations are created. Right? Again, a huge effect on it. On elections already happened. And I'm pretty sure this is going to have a 10 times more effect on this, unfortunately. But it is also have 10 times or 100 times more effect on our productivity and having a better things. So there will be the fight between good and bad. The way to deal with it is to not stop working it, not going to research on it, is to build ethical guardrails around it, right? So when we create something, and we should be able to analyze our creation with respect to this ethical framework, and then we could bring laws to that. But it is also equally important not to kill the creativity. Okay? We should, because someone else is going to do across the world. Now the world, I mean, country is not alone. We are part of a world, right? The boundaries, physical boundaries are there, but the what you call digital or boundaries are going to get, it's not there. So you communicate to an American or Chinese, similar to you communicate to your friend sitting next to you, right? So it is going to happen. So the way we can only get involved in it and prevent things like that happening, we need to monitor that. We need to have ethical guardrails there. We need to have law if needed to be there. Otherwise, there will be some disasters it's going to. But long term, we will overcome that. Now we kind of overcome COVID, right? So, but I think it will have a huge impact on people's lives if we are not creating ethical guardrails. Did I answer your question? Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So when we unleashing the power of data on the level of ChatGPT, the question is the data is also a lot of fake. So does we need another ChatGPT? ChatGPT, does we need another AI or software to find out what's the fake and what's the truth nowadays?
So in the research domain, we look at the data and look at the biases in the data. Okay, so suppose we only have a data from powerful Western population, right? Then it will be, if we create something just based on that, it will be discriminative to other part of the world. So our cultural things. But many of this data they analyze, it is multilingual, etc. It is short, right? So it is important to look at the data and how representative that data is of the population. So one of the problems of using or machine learning or deep learning tools is the data itself is biased. That's what you said. It's not fake. It is biased itself. Can be problematic. But again, along with the ethical framework and the other tools, we should be looking at how to deal with the bias in the data and how the decisions are fair. So one example I will give you. People use a credit scoring to, when you apply for a loan, if you don't have any credit history, you don't get it. That is unfair to you because I didn't have a credit history. This happened to me when I was first in the UK. I tried to get a loan. I had a difficulty because I didn't have any credit history. So they look through a system and say your credit score is low. I said, how come it? I never defaulted on any loan. And then he said, you need to have a loan to have a credit history, right? So this is a huge effect on denying insurances or things like that. It's a huge effect. Again, it's the only way we could do is aware of it and create alternative mechanisms for it. Okay, thank you.
I'm Joemon from CSES. This is based on the question that was asked earlier. How do we find out what is the extent of plagiarism? Is it possible? I mean, something you said it is possible to augment, enhance what you have written, but then on a very social science background where you can formulate something based on available data, how do you know it is authentic or?
I got that. I think my answer was from a technical perspective, right? So in the social sciences, for example, right, we cannot hypothesis. I cannot expect ChatGPT to come up with a hypothesis. Whereas in social sciences, it's slightly different, right? You come up with the creative research questions by analyzing it. That may be an issue in social sciences. So I don't know how that problem will be solved or addressed. When we had online exams, even this year we had online exam, and then university had a plagiarism detection softwares, and other companies came up with ChatGPT busting softwares, etc. But we couldn't use it because university couldn't evaluate the quality of that detection. Even though this Turnitin or they said they have a ChatGPT extension, it's equally important fair to students that that software is properly rigorously evaluated to do that, right? And that wasn't the case. So we didn't use that, and there were a lot of plagiarism there, right? And lots of people got away with it too, right? So I don't know how that will be answered in social sciences, because in technical words is that idea they don't get it. Maybe ChatGPT may not be able to. Whereas in social sciences, which is different. Again, you use the creative analysis, etc., right? ChatGPT can do that.
One more question is on the question of deepfake videos. Is there any universally accepted some mechanism, framework? Because I recently read there was an issue where in Tamil Nadu, there was an audio clip which was leaked of the Tamil Nadu finance minister saying something against his government.
Yeah, right.
And now I believe there is an agency which has tested it and apparently certified that the second audio conversation was authentic. The first one was there was a bit of noise, so they couldn't really discern if it was this. But second one is authentic. So if it comes to the judiciary, is there any mechanism?
It's I can say that I know even my own friends working on detecting deep fake audio and video, right? So that's again experimental. They were doing it for let's say last 5 years, etc. And there will be solutions. Eventually, we come into that, right? But in the earlier versions, these solutions they look into the frame by frame differences, and when you manually edit, you get between people. When you put the head back, Mohanlal there, you get some kind of a line there. So we could accept that, right? But in AI, when you do deep fake there, that kind of that kind of features are not in that video anymore, right? I don't know how to use that. I know people working on that, but I'm pretty sure solutions will come. But this is going to be the next big battlefield. People doing this and the other solutions come on the fly, and in between there were a lot of bad things will happen. If you take a politician, right, and you go and do something like this, it doesn't have to be, even if it is shown to be wrong, in 5 months' time, the damage will be done by then, right? And also, you only need to make the doubt in the mind of people. That is good enough, and you don't need to prove anything, right? In the political time, so you may see a lot of side effects of this, very bad ones.
I'm Abdul from CSES. So you were discussing about training the AI. So I was wondering whether the prejudices that we have, like even racial prejudices or the information that we do, how it can affect the output that AI comes up with. So how can we?
No, it affects the input. If the input is bad, output is going to be affected, right? So this is why unfairness happening in the model, right? So another prominent example talk is in America, legal systems are automated, right? And so lots of black people get negative things because let's say out of 5% of black people, 2% are just criminals, right? So if you and there is a much potential for them to jailed for events than white counterparts. So they are aware of this kind of problem. So the input data is not wrong, input data is biased there. That is why that is happening. This is why we need a framework to counter biases and unfairness in the data, right? But the issue in the large language models, I was wondering, because it's using humongous amount of data across the world, these biases will be addressed or not. I mean, that's an open question for all.
Sir, I'm a student of this college. Just came to know, came here to know a little more about the ChatGPT. I'm from the library art film societies for many years. So one thing I found is that The 2 points. One thing about in your last slide, you mentioned about the positive as well as the, say, maybe disruptive or negative distance. And maybe even today's paper, looking at today's Times of India, but I couldn't find it. Some of the papers say that the one the people or the company that made this ChatGPT, now they are coming up with the need for qualification, the need for controlling the ChatGPT. In today's paper, I was looking at it. So, but your presentation, of course, is that more technical and elaborating with explaining not a positive story, but in a better way. But also you mentioned the disruptive aspects. And my question, first point is that could you a little more elaborate on the disruptive way? The second thing is that an illustration of, say maybe in around 2010 or 2012, I was talking to some certain type of guys who've got some gray areas. For example, and in 2012 also in one of the A-list newspapers like Manorama Madhubhumi, I heard news like this type of mobile phone that is used inside the air. Inside the ear. It is used by at the time the PM's the financial earlier RBA government who became the Indian PM. The people who controls him in the party, only those type of people had that type of thing. But within 2 years I found news in Manorama that in engineering college, students started using this thing, maybe for less than 10,000 rupees. And when they go out of the college, they gave it to their roommates, and then it became public. And first time it appeared in the news magazine. But in next 10 years, and one more thing, and this other guy information told me before it came in the newspapers, that the technology, you can control the flying planes from the ground using the software, and you can even make the crash the thing. So these are some gray areas used by top levels like that. And first time the engineering students, of course, and in art film societies, I found that in maybe 15-20 years back, one single memory disc, they had got 300 films like that, but it was not available to us. So the art techie guys, techie people had this thing, but even after 10 years, what I found a little disconcerting is that though in many examinations, the supervisors nowadays in French engineering exam, medical exams, the strip search and many type of tape search and people, they don't give the why reason about this type of inner evidence. So that means only few people, like earlier PM level people, engineering people, they may know of this thing. Not at the ordinary level. But in practice, at the invigilators in the examination, they will be searching, but people doesn't know that. Even after 10 years, so similarly this ChatGPT is going to be at the top level, at the PM level, defense level, they will use it. Master film makers, like we call art film masters. But it doesn't come about the ordinary level. But in examination things, they use it. But it is never mentioned why, what is this small. So, is there a potential to art GPT is going to be like this?
I think that it has a potential to be messy.
Very last question, and only this
Okay.
Very last question, one more question before winding up the session. Our students in the party are social media event discussion and the distribution, then on the basis of that we can make predictions. Especially the social media algorithms are in such a manner that we only see the messages of the posts of only selected people. അങ്ങനെ വരുമ്പോൾ നമുക്കൊരു പാറ്റേൺ എങ്ങനെ ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് പറ്റും, എന്താണ് അതിൻ്റെ പ്രാക്ടിക്കൽ സൊല്യൂഷൻ?
Okay, let me answer that question first, and then I will go to so what we call something called data collective intelligence. We are not looking at one data, which can be an anomaly. But when you look collectively, it may converge to the truth. That's what we believe. Okay. Now, if in that case, it is useful for making analysis. But one of the many social media analytics, what I realized is when you look at the credibility of the sender, we could throw away, at least in those cases, many what you call noisy or bad or corrupt information, right? So for example, right, I don't expect you to send too many what you call untruth emails or tweets, because you have a credibility, you are part of this institution, and if you violate many of those ground rules, you will be in trouble, right? So that's in a way by looking at you as a credible person, right? By looking at your job, how many years you were, where you are associated, things like that. That's an example, right? I'm not making. Similarly, by looking at the metadata, many of the metadata, we could talk about what is the potential of that person. So that is one area we could use. But this is again an issue that need to be countered. We need to, when you make a decision based on publicly available data, we need to understand where it can go wrong too. So if it works 90% of places and 10% it makes errors, and we should be aware of those 10%, especially when you are dealing with stock prices or things like that. Otherwise you lose all your money, right? That's all. To answer your question, will it be used to answer in a bad way or in a disastrous way? Yes, it will be. I will So many people have seen this. This is coming from Boston Dynamics, that video, right? That robot dog jumping and etc. They're creating robots, right? Now think about those robots as these capabilities. It doesn't have to be correct, right? It is good enough to kill in certain scenarios, and it will have huge impact across the way the warfares are fought. And if you look at elections, it will have huge impact. 10 years ago, one of the journalists in Associated Press got hacked, and from his account a tweet was gone saying that White House is bombed. Huge impact on the stock prices, right? So it happened already, and we know all the misinformation, all these problems happen without AI. And with AI, if it can help you in creativity, productivity, it can help you in disaster, negativity, equally. And it is going to happen. But my answer is not completely stopping is not the solution, right? We need to analyze it and the pros and cons, where it works, where it fails, and we need to address that. And which I call ethical guardrails around that, or building that, right? Now, if we stop it completely, right? Now we can stop in India. What will happen? Americans, what will happen in China? Or other places, right? I'm not naming, or Pakistan or Bangladesh or somebody else is using it, right? So you got to develop this. You got to look at the potential, and you got to make sure that we are using it for the good of people. Okay? It's a question I didn't answer, so maybe I may have missed it.
Just like the inner earphone.
Yeah.
Will it remain at a certain level only, or it will go down to everybody knowing the examinations, people are using it? We can have a discussion after this session.
Okay, we can talk in private. Okay, sorry.
Now we move on to the last item of the agenda, the vote of thanks. I invite Santosh Yogi sir, head of the Department of Economics, Maharajas College, Ernakulam, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Distinguished guests of this lecture, fellow participants,
my dear colleagues and my dear students. So we have almost reached the end of the seminar, and since it is the faggot, I am not going to make a lengthy expression of the gratitude. So in this lecture program, we have a very important special address by none other than the Vice Chancellor, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Cochin University, Dr. P.G. Shankaran sir. He has made a very brief narration regarding the evolution of various technologies leading to the final thing that we are discussing here, the ChatGPT. So it's a very interesting brief presentation regarding its growth and evolution. On behalf of all the participants, on behalf of CSES and on behalf of the Department of Economics, Maharajas College, Ernakulam and IQAC, I express you, sir, our heartfelt words of gratitude. Now we have the distinguished guest of this day who has made the keynote address and presentation, none other than Professor Joemon M. Jos. He has made a very illuminating presentation regarding the various aspects, various problems and the theoretical model that we can have to deal with the huge information overload being produced by the development of internet technology. And it's a very illuminating and a very simple presentation by which what is the model that we can generate to deal with this information. So events can be detected, then on the basis of that events we can generate a distribution of the events, then on the basis of that distribution of events, so this is as far as my understanding, this has been the theoretical model that he has been suggested. Then on the basis of that distribution we can make predictions about what may happen on the basis of what is being going on the social media. So currently we are having intense debate regarding the role of media, the role of various political parties, the various agenda motivating all these debates taking place in social media. So on the basis of this type of theoretical model, we can make some rational conclusions regarding what exactly is taking place in the social media. So on behalf of all the participants, on behalf of CSES and Department of Economics and IQAC of the college, I extend you, sir, our words of gratitude. Then the director of CSES, Ajit sir, he said we have a very long-standing association with the CSES and the Department of Economics, and CSES and Director Ajit sir is so generous whenever activities are taking place, especially academic activities are taking place. Sir and the center is so generous to associate, to make Department of Economics is also part of that program. And recently he has given all the facilities for the internship program of MA Economics students. So actually no words are enough to express our gratitude and thankfulness. Still, on behalf of the program and on behalf of the Department of Economics and Maharajas College, Ernakulam, I extend you, sir, our heartfelt words of gratitude. Many dignitaries are present here, especially the former Dean of Social Sciences and the head of the Department of Economics of Cochin University, and the Vice President of Kerala Economic Association, Dr. Harikumar sir is here, then Muralidharan sir is there, then the former principal, the Secretary of the former Finance Minister, Thomas Isaac sir, is here, and many fellow colleagues are also assembled here, and students and all the other participants. With one word, I express our words of gratitude. And by these words, I end my speech. And I also announce that the program has been ended here. Thank you all for coming and making this program a grand success. ചോദിക്കണം വിചാരിച്ചു, പക്ഷേ ഇനി എന്നെ ഇരിക്കും